you doing tonight, guys? Bit of an earlier video than planned because technically it is Sunday here in Japan, and tomorrow morning, as I have my son here and my wife will be working, I won't have time to do it in the morning, so I'm going to do a quick video now, working on another Slaanesh video. I thought I'd just quickly show my progress on the Imperial Great Ship that I just did today, well, really this evening actually, and I've just got it to a point where I'm quite happy with that as it is, and I can start doing the sails and painting the masts and that kind of thing next. So just a quick update on that. So I think, you know, I'm going to attempt to paint one Chaos Warrior per day, and this is the second one. So as I said last time, yeah, I've just started doing the armor, painting it in pink. I've given out a couple of coats, and I'm going to attempt to try to paint this guy in one session if I can. I'm just taking some purple ink and just going to give him a quick wash of purple ink there in his armor. Just to give that a bit more definition, and then we can go back over with a highlight after when it's dry. So sorry about the video that I uploaded initially this morning. There was a bit of a technical issue there, and as it was uploading, it got to the status on the YouTube was that it was waiting, and I'd seen people already commenting and had watched the video, and it was already on my feed. So I thought, okay, well maybe that screen is just stuck in some kind of loop or lag or something like that. So I opted to delete the video, and of course it just deleted the whole video of my channel. So I had to, and luckily I had it still on my camera. Oh, sorry, on my phone, I should say. The original video, I already deleted off the iMovie, so I had to quickly, yeah, re-edit it slightly and then upload it again, so that took a bit of time. But I did get your questions, one from Dan Buman. Dan, if you haven't seen his channel, he has his own channel that he features his Bretonnian army that he's working on, a 5th edition Bretonnian army, and his historical miniatures too. So if you're not familiar with Dan's channel, then yeah, I urge you to go and check it out and go and say hi to him, and yeah, see what he's working on. He's got some really nicely painted Bretonnian cavalry and archer models, and I think he's got quite a large range of figures actually that he's working on at the moment. And he likes his historicals too, so he's got some, I think, Napoleonics and that kind of thing that he's also working on. I'm just going to do all the chainmail and any kind of armor in this. It's like a black and a bit of that cobalt blue in there as well as a base. Anyhow, Dan did ask me a question. I did manage to see it before the video went down, and he asked me how I got into this hobby and a bit of origin story, which is great actually, Dan, because I love the origin stories and listening to people, especially on podcasts, or there was a bit of a thing on the Hirohama Facebook group as well about how they got into the hobby and that kind of thing. So I really enjoy listening to people's stories of how they got into the hobby itself. And I think for me, like many people of my generation or age, the initial thing that got me into the Games Workshop hobby anyway was HeroQuest, and absolutely loved the game, still do, and I was lucky enough to find a copy locally from a very generous guy who lives not too far from where I live actually, that was selling a copy of it. So I picked one up, and yeah, I started painting some of the miniatures for it, just to, because I didn't at the time, I had no idea about miniature painting, how to do it. I was very, very interested and keen to learn about it. And of course, like many people, I sent away in the mail for the painting catalogue from Games Workshop, which took a long time to get it. I think it cost my parents $10 at the time, which is a lot of money to send it to them. I think we had to pay them money or send them money or something to send it, to get like a return envelope and that kind of thing sent by them. So I got that and had all those beautiful painted miniatures from Mike McVeigh in there, and gave me sort of like more of an insight how to do miniature painting, and yeah, so that was my real big start in it. And then through the catalogue that they sent me, the painting guide, they had Warhammer Fantasy Battles in there, and that was the game that really struck a chord with me. I just looked at that and I thought, wow, that looks incredible, seeing all those beautifully painted models ranked up. And it wasn't like the board game like HeroQuest. It was like this, an actual table where people would amass armies together and push them around on the table and fight out battles. So that really spurred my interest in the game. So I think for my birthday, one of my birthdays, my grandmother bought me the hardcover 3rd edition rulebook for Warhammer Fantasy Battles, and I didn't really understand the concept or the rules that much, I don't think, and to be honest, I don't think we ever played it. I think we had one game on the floor of my then I think dining room at that stage in my parents' house, because where I lived in Australia, there were very, very there was only one shop in my town that stocked anything related to Games Workshop and the hobby, and apart from that, you'd have to travel to Brisbane to get to one of the stores there, the hobby stores there, that carried quite a large range of different miniatures and that kind of thing. And at that time, I think I just got my license, so we would make these road trips up there, and we would go and visit the stores and pick up our plastic and lead miniatures that we could afford at the time. And I do remember getting that Regiments of Renown, I think it's called, the plastic box set that had all the different races, like your Dark Elves, Wood Elves, Dwarves, Goblins, Orcs, Skaven in the set. And I think that was the very first box set of plastic miniatures I bought that were Games Workshop miniatures. And the first metal miniatures were some Marauder Dwarf Thunderers, and a Marauder Ogre, and I think there was a Citadel Minotaur. That were some of my very first metal miniatures that I bought. And actually, just remembering now, it just came back to me now, because obviously it's a long time ago, my memory's a bit fuzzy, but when I was in high school, there was a Canadian guy that was attending our school, our high school, and I went to his house one day, and this is before I knew about HeroQuest or any of the games or miniatures or anything like that. He had bought from the same comic store that I went to a set of Rogue Trader Space Marines, and he'd assembled them and sort of painted them to the best of his ability, and sort of had them in his bedroom as kind of like just collectible things that he would just go in there and just buy and put together and paint. So that just sort of just came back to me, actually, that memory. And maybe that was the very, very first memory I have of ever seeing miniatures, apart from the plastic ones you could buy through Tamiya. and other kind of scale model kits that you could buy in your department stores and toy stores at the time. So yeah, that was the starting point for me, and I think when I got into it, and then I had the rulebook for 3rd edition. I think a guy at school sold me the Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay 1st edition, like the source book and some adventure books as well. Never really got to play that either. It was just really nice to just look through all the illustrations and read about the lore and that kind of thing more than actually playing the game. And maybe it was the same for yourself or other people. If you're living in certain towns, depending where you lived, I think it really depended on how many people you knew played these games, because more often than not it was like just yourself and maybe, if you're lucky, one other person. And the time I got into Warhammer, I didn't know anybody that played it. There's only one other guy at school who, after seeing the rulebook that I had in the game, he bought a rulebook and bought some miniatures, and he and his father put together some terrain for it and that kind of thing. And I think it was just more like just a hobby they could do together themselves. And let's see, after that, I think I bought Advanced Hero Quest when that first came out, which is something I'm working on at the moment, actually, the heroes. I'm painting those. And yeah, that's all part of another project that I'm going to be doing and coinciding with the channel that I can do as a solo type playthrough of the game and see how I go with that. But yeah, that's the other, that was the other major sort of board game I got at the time. And the other one that I'm just remembering now, actually, sort of just flooding back, I bought at the comic store a box set called Ultramarine, or Ultramarines, which were part of a series of games that that were sort of like a cheap introduction into the Games Workshop hobby, where it was basically a game in a box, and the actual the inside of the tray, the inside of the upper lid of the tray of the box, inside had a hit and miss grid type system where you would hold the dice up and you would let go of the dice, and where it fell onto the grid, and depending on what the result was on the dice, was the result of your attack and that kind of thing. That was like a Space Hulk hybrid type game where you would have all these Space Marine scouts, and they would be battling against each other. You'd have 4 different teams of 5, and it was a really cool game. It had like these event cards in it, and basically you would have to reach certain locations within the map to retrieve some kind of special, I can't remember what it was. Might have been like some kind of plasma type kind of. I have no idea. It was something you had to collect, some kind of token on the map you had to collect, and bring it back to your starting square or something like that. It was a whole lot of fun. I got a group of guys that I went to school with to play it with me during the summer holidays, and then they got into things like Space Crusade and all that kind of thing. I think they started getting into the hobby that way. I was still really keen on fantasy, and I didn't really do a lot of 40k at that stage until I met up with a guy at the local games club, and he introduced me to another guy, and we went, they were a bit older than me, and I went to their house, and they were playing Space Crusade, and they played different kinds of board games and that kind of thing. And then I got them into Warhammer Fantasy Battles. So Shane, one of the guys there, he bought a whole stack of stuff because, he was a lot older than us, and, he had money, and he could buy all the miniatures and books and all that kind of stuff. And we would just go to his house a lot, actually, probably usually once a week or every weekend, and just hang out there and have some games, small games. And that was 4th edition. That was the 4th edition rules. When 4th edition came out, that was the defining sort of rule set that I really got into, and I could understand more clearly. The rules were just better laid out, and it was just less complicated. I think the 3rd edition rules are quite, for someone who's like 17, it's like, and never been exposed to wargaming before, it was just too much. So yeah, 4th edition was the one that really got me into the hobby. Started off with the High Elves when the starter set came out, and I think the goblins I actually gave to a guy at school, but I don't think he ever did anything with them. We never had a game, so that was obviously a waste. So, which is a shame. But yeah, paint up the High Elves. Really enjoyed that. That really got me into I really learned a lot about painting miniatures, just doing all that rank and file stuff. So when people ask me about miniature painting, what's the best way to learn? Get rank and file miniatures and paint them. You'll learn because you're just doing that repetitiously. Lining in, black lining and that kind of stuff. If you've got steady hands, it's good. I suppose for people who don't have steady hands, I think I'm just fortunate in that sense. But obviously, there are certain techniques of that you learn and pick up that you feel more natural in painting that can help you in that regard. But yeah, that I learned a lot just by painting the High Elves in the set, and then started playing. I really started playing it in 4th edition. I bought the Magic set. I found a guy, Marcus, in Brisbane, and he later moved to the Gold Coast where I was in Australia, and we got together. And he was big into 40k, like the 40k 2nd edition Rogue Trader. But he was a really good painter. He still is a really good painter. He's got his own little company now, called Wereweevil Miniatures. If you might be aware of those, or his company, or his miniatures on Facebook. But anyhow, I'm sort of going off track there. But yeah, we got together. We started playing. I think we started playing 40k then, because Marcus didn't play fantasy. He did have a big undead army, but I don't think we ever played it. I'm not sure. But yeah, he got me sort of into 40k. But yeah, leading back to me and Chris, when I started hanging out with those guys, but the main game we played and we found more accessible than any other game was Space Marine Epic, because you could buy a whole ton of miniatures in one box, and then you could just buy the metal titans and vehicles separately, and the store in Brisbane catered for all that kind of stuff, so they had quite a decent range of miniatures they were importing from the US at that stage. So yeah, we could buy an entire, you get like the Orc Horde box sets, so many miniatures, you would never need any more infantry. And you just need the vehicles, and I think Chris at that time was actually moulding up his own vehicles at that stage to save some money. And we both had a couple armies each. He had Orcs and Eldar, and I had Blood Angel Space Marines, Chaos, the two armies I ran, because the Blood Angels are red, so I thought, oh yeah, they'll just fit in with the Chaos, because Chaos like corn and red and that kind of thing, so I used to proxy them as Chaos Space Marines and that kind of thing. And we played Epic, I think every single weekend for I don't know how many years we played that for. They were my best days of gaming, really. Looking back, they were my most fondest memories, and I'm really glad to have gotten back into it now and found a guy here, Damien, in Japan to play with me. because there's no one else. So I'm lucky that he's as keen as me to play Epic and the old 2nd edition rules. And that's really old Hammer, really, isn't it? You know, it's not even, that's not Hero Hammer, that's really old Hammer. Epic. I'm just going through and just putting down the initial ivory, where I'm going to put all the gold and that kind of thing as before. So Dan, I'm sort of interested in how you got into the hobby too, mate, so please let me know how you got into 5th edition. I think I saw a video that you did where you talked about it a little bit, maybe you were at college or something and you picked up the set or something like that. I think we're about the same age actually. And to tell you the truth, I never bought the 5th edition set. Never bought the 5th edition box set, didn't buy the Magic set back in the day. I don't know why. I think I think our friends had it or whatever, and we just gamed with them. So, and I didn't like the Saurus, and I didn't like the Bretonians that much. I had my at that time I had a Night Goblin army, which I had procured through a trade with another guy in our group. I had a massive Chaos army, and I traded that for his Night Goblins as he wanted Chaos. So I think that's the best deal I've ever done, actually, because I still got them and I still love them, and I wouldn't part with them for anything in the world, I don't think. And I think we just gamed together, and I didn't need any of that stuff. I think the Magic set I think he had, and my mate had Michael, I think he had it, and I did buy all the books, like the army books. I bought like the Siege book. We did have a Siege game that sort of came back as a flashback after you asked me about how I got into the game and that kind of thing. A lot of stuff started flooding back, and I do remember playing a Siege game at one point, and I would like to revisit that. I did buy the book again as I'm going through this huge phase of trying to buy back all the stuff that I had, and I foolishly sold or threw out or gave away or traded or whatever, as you do. Now I'm sort of in the process of buying all that stuff back or trading for it back or whatever. So yeah, that book's in Australia. I don't actually have it here, but I don't actually have a castle, but I'm working on that at the moment with a guy here in Japan who's a 3D model maker. Like, he does all the designs and that kind of thing, the CAD drawings and that kind of stuff. So I gave him the design of the Mighty Fortress, the original Mighty Fortress, which I did actually have back in the day, foolishly sold off. And I'm asking if he can design, CAD design me a castle, even if it's just the towers and some wall sections, so I can make the scenario in the Dwarf Army book. Because there's a massive, in the Dwarf Army book for 4th edition, there's a massive battle between, I think there's 2 separate forces or 4 separate forces of goblins and orcs versus I think 2 different forces of dwarves. And it looks like, I think it's a battle of 8 peaks or something like that. It looks like a really cool scenario, so I really want to try and play that at some point, as that was one of my other great desires, is to actually recreate a lot of the White Dwarf battles and battles in the army books and that kind of thing. Just sort of recreate those and have those on the tabletop and play them out with my friends. So that's something on the cards. Right. I think for the hair, I just put some colours on my palette before I started this. Just got some green here. It's really nice. This is jade green from the model color, game color range, sorry, game color. And I like this green because it's a really nice color for Slaanesh, I think. So I think his hair will be this color, his top knot or whatever. Now, getting back to the origin stories, that's one of the reasons why I wanted to start a podcast, but so I can invite people on, like yourself, like all the great guys from the group, and get them on and just have a chat about how they got into the hobby, you know, what projects they're doing now, maybe about their most memorable games they played, about their armies, anything like that would be really, really good. I'd really enjoy, and I think a lot of other people would enjoy listening to that kind of thing. So that's going to be on the cards hopefully soon. I'm going to talk to Justin about it soon, and I've asked Dave Lister to be the first guy, the first guest, the third chair, if you like, on the show. As if you don't know Dave's in the 4th and 5th Hero Hammer Facebook group. He's got a lot of stuff. I've seen photos of all the miniatures and games he's got. He's got an awful lot of stuff that he's collected over the years, all in boxes and all stored away. And he's got a real passion for this era of the Games Workshop hobby. So I thought it'd be cool to have Dave on first, talk to him, and I think he's from the States, so yeah, just get his perspective, and maybe he'll have a lot of really great stories that people relate to from the States as well. You know, how he got into the hobby and what stores he went to and that kind of thing, maybe certain games days that he attended or something like that. Yeah, all those kind of nostalgic memories of the hobby would be great to listen to, I think. And the other purpose of that podcast was so that me and Justin can talk about our games that we played, and a bit of a recap on our games and that kind of thing, or maybe some upcoming events or things that we have planned, and a bit of a hobby chat and that kind of thing. So we'll see how we go with that. We'll see how that pans out. I don't see why we can't do it early, because everyone's at home anyway, and maybe people have got more free time now. And I think if I can do it through Zoom and just record it, and just from that recording upload it to YouTube on the channel, I think that'd be fine. I think that'd be great. You know, people could even I think you probably can download it and just play it on your device as like, you know, to listen to in the car or something like that. Maybe, I don't know. I have to look into it. I'm the most untech person you're ever likely to meet. That was evident when I deleted the video earlier today. So me and technology just don't get along. Never have done. I don't own I've never owned a desktop computer. I do want one now, actually. I hadn't owned a laptop computer until maybe several years ago. So yeah, I'm not into PC gaming or anything like that. Probably a good thing, actually, otherwise I'll never get any painting done. Although all these Warhammer games they've released would be interesting to have a look at, especially nowadays in the lockdown. It's probably the most opportune moment to have a PC and be able to play with your friends online. So just adding a bit of ivory to the pink, just for the highlights on the armour. And just going through and just blending it through into the sections here. We might do a bit of freehand with this guy if we can, just a little bit. I do like having the pink and black as two of the main contrasting colours, and having the red and the greens and blues as like a secondary colour. I think for Slaanesh it really works. The thing about, you know, doing another Chaos army, if I had a chance, I don't have any Chaos models anymore. Yeah, and if I was going to do it, I think I might do Tzinch, because Tzinch is one of the armies I've never played before. I usually always had like Nurgle armies in the past, so I think they've got some really nice vibrant colours like Slaanesh. I like Slaanesh too actually, but I think having just painted one, or in the process of one, I don't think I really want to rush into painting another one at this stage. So yeah, if I get the opportunity down the track, maybe a Tzinch army would be quite cool, because I like all the pink and blue horrors. They're all designed by designed by Kev Adams, sorry. And being a collector of his, it'd be nice to have those models at some point. But it's been a really nice, lazy, rainy day, quite stormy actually. It's unusual we have a storm here, but some thunder and really heavy rain. I had to go out twice to go to the Daiso, which is like a $1 shop, to get some clay for my terrain. I did a lot of terrain today, and I uploaded that video today as well on the channel to show you the progress I've made so far with that. And boy, there's a lot of hours that's been sunk into that so far, huge amount of hours. So I'll be glad when it's to the point where I can actually start painting it, and when it's finished, and not have to do it again. Basically, in that, you know, I don't want to make another river again unless I have to, or hills, all that kind of stuff. It's not that difficult to do. It's just that it just takes up a lot of time. It's very messy too. I'm constantly dragging stuff through the house in my socks and clothes that picks up all that polystyrene and balsa wood and all that kind of stuff. So I'm constantly having to clean everything up all the time. But it's been fun, you know, it's been good to get back into it. And one of the guys in our messenger group showed me some pictures in an old white dwarf. I think it's 190, what was it, 198? Yeah, I think it's 198, issue 198, of a guy's terrain that he had built for Warhammer, and it looked absolutely stunning. Really, really beautiful stuff. So that was very inspiring to look at and to see, and, you know, to sort of aim towards. And as I do want to keep making you know, enough terrain so that whenever we roll on the terrain chart, I've got enough stuff to cover everything. And I'll be happy with that, because now I've got enough painted miniatures that I can play games with. I just want to have some nice terrain to match all the hard work that we've been putting into our armies and that kind of thing now. So, and I don't want to play without terrain. I think it doesn't look, it loses aesthetic appeal for me, because that's one of the reasons why I'm in the hobby, you know, for the aesthetics of it. Yeah, I'm keen to give the Man of War game a try. So I've decided to do the Empire fleet because my mate Wellington, that's based here in Japan, he's very keen to try it. I think we talked about it initially when I knew the game was available, and he was like, oh yeah, I really want to try that. So I asked him which fleet he want to play. He said Empire. I said okay, I'll knock that out. And I think I'll do the Empire first, and I've got a Skaven fleet as well. I just got to check how many ships I've got for that. I've got the Chaos as well, and the Orcs, but the Orcs I've only got I think 4 ships. I don't think that's enough. I think that's way too small. I think you would need at least, you know, 2 squadrons and like one of your main ship at the very least. So I'll have to see what other stuff I've got. I think I've got enough Chaos ships, but I just need to go through it and sort it out and see exactly what I've got. So I've still got bags of models that I need to sort out. But yeah, really keen to see what that's like. I've seen videos online. I did play it many years ago, but I can't really remember much about it. But after seeing the YouTube videos, I was like, yeah, really keen to play it. And the Facebook group, yeah, they've got some really great inspirational posts there from people around the world, you know, posting up their ships and fleets and tables and what have you. So yeah, still an active community, which is good. And I hope you guys are enjoying your weekend, or about to start your weekend. Just keep safe, don't go out anywhere that you don't need to go. And the reason why I wanted to do this is just that to support people that maybe are in a lockdown, going stir crazy at home, looking for things to watch or things to do, or, you know, if this helps those, you know, a small number of people, then, you know, I'll be like really happy that I could provide some kind of support in some way. So, and I'm, you know, I'm determined to do one video every day. Even if it's just for 20 minutes, like I said, you know, just something. So yeah, please ask away, guys. Ask questions. So that'll, you know, fuel the conversation as I'm painting. that'd be really appreciated. Yeah, I really appreciate that. If you could do that, that'd be great. Any sort of hobby questions or anything to do with the game, any of the game systems. Played most of them. I'm talking with a guy here in Japan because he's playing Blood Bowl. He's playing the latest version of it, and that's another game I'd love to get back into because I had everything. I had the base game. I had Death Zone, and I had an orc team and a dwarf team, and that's something that I will definitely on my radar of reacquiring and painting some teams up and playing that and featuring that on the channel, as it's a great game. It's one of the all-time classic games. I think with the that chainmail, just going to use that cobalt blue. Just wiping off any excess there and just lightly brushing over the top. And I'll do the same for the glove as well. Even though it's like, I think almost 2 o'clock, I'm not really tired. As I work irregular hours. I usually sleep at 1:30, 2 o'clock every day in the morning. So this is quite normal for me, and I'll probably stay up until about 3 or so this morning, just doing some hobby. As this is the best time, I think it's so quiet and my son is soundly asleep. And yeah, tomorrow when he's awake, it's just going to be impossible to do anything, so. I'm just going to highlight those boots and, well, the boot and the glove. I've just got some, this pale blue. This is pale blue, just mixing that in with the cobalt blue to get some highlights. I better do that gold in a minute too, eh? So it's going to take some time to dry, so. Oh, and also at the end of each one of, maybe not all of them, but at the end of this one, I'm going to show some pictures of people's painted miniatures that I found on Facebook that I want to mention and give a bit of a shout out to hopefully inspire other people as they inspire me. And every time I go to Facebook, even though I don't really like Facebook as Facebook, but I just use it for hobby. I don't use it for anything else, and to connect with my friends and the communities out there. And when I looked at the Old Hammer group this evening, I saw a man's, Walter, his name is, from Italy. Walter, if you're watching, mate, you've got an absolutely beautiful looking Orc and Goblin army. It really astounding the amount of work you've done into that. So I'm going to feature that at the end of this video so you can have a look at it. If you're already part of the Old Hammer community, you probably have seen them already. I've just taken a few shots of his army, and then I'm going to post up at the end. Really beautiful stuff, like great paintings, got some really nice conversions, like really simple conversions, which are really effective too. Like he's converted one of the Orc Biggins into a standard, and just really simple things like that. He's done a few weapon swaps on some of the miniatures, and yeah, I thought that's really, really nice. You know, being a Orc and Goblin player myself, you know, I really love seeing beautifully painted Orc and Goblin armies, because they are quite challenging with the amount of models you need to paint, especially goblins. It can be quite tedious, you know, having to paint so many, but he's done an amazing job with those. So I hope he's keeping safe and well over there, Walter, because I know your country is suffering really badly, mate. So please take care, eh? Okay, so that's the gold sorted out. So that was just a straight sepia wash, yeah? Straight over that ivory. Yeah, Justin messaged me today, and he said he'd seen this technique and he was quite interested in this non-metallic metal painting style, and he wants to try it himself because he traditionally paints with metallic colours. Metallics is fine as well, like, you know, it really doesn't matter. I just prefer doing it in non-metallics. You know, I just find it just more pleasing on the eye, but I know some people are, like, you know, adamant about metallics, and if it's not metallics, it's not really metal. It's just personal preference, really. It's really a subjective thing. So if I was going to do it in metallics, I would just do it in a colour very similar to that, and just give it a very similar wash with like a brown wash or something like that, if it was gold. And then you know, to highlight it, I would use ivory. I would use ivory to highlight it after that. So very similar, really. I do use metallics on my epic models, and I was tempted to do it on the Man of War stuff, but I decided to go with non-metallic metals. That might change depending, but I think I'm quite happy with just doing non-metallics. There's not that many. There's not actually a lot of metallics on them. The epic stuff does have more, but I just find with the epic models it just sort of pops visually more with the metallic paints. Okay, so moving along, the sword colour. Sword colour. What am I going to do with that? Don't know, actually. Not sure. Maybe blue? I missed something here too. Yeah, I think I'll paint the sword blue. So I have some blue already here. This is royal blue, I think. Okay, so it's about on the 50-minute mark. I might actually have to stop this now because I won't have enough memory on my phone to go any further. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to stop it now, upload this video, and then come back either today or tomorrow with the second part. I was hoping to finish it today, but I'm not going to get it done. So I'm going to do that, guys. So thanks very much for watching. Like I said, please leave comments below. And please enjoy the photos about to come up with Walter's Orc Goblin army. Okay guys, take care. Okay, see you in the next one.